Right guys, do you think when people wait for games to drop into subscription services, do you think this hurts game sales? What do you think about the developers? What do they think? They've spent several years developing a game. What do they want? Sales or players? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. As always, a huge shout out to the God of War and Uncharted channel members. And if you enjoyed today's video, please show your support by hitting that like button. So PlayStation gamers buy their games, right? Do you believe that? And what I mean here is that of course gamers on Xbox buy games, of course they do. However, there is a considerably small proportion of gamers that do buy their games on the Xbox platform, whereas on PlayStation, a large proportion of gamers actually go out and buy their games, and they buy them quickly. And this is backed by new data from Linear Analytics. This is based on their analysis for the sales data for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and this report goes on to suggest that the PlayStation 5 version of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is outperforming its PC and Xbox counterparts, and it's doing so really quickly. In the first 6 days after launch, the PS5 version managed to sell around 117,000 copies. Now, to put that into perspective, the PC version only sold about 91,000 units in the same time frame. That's a difference of around about 28%, showing that there's a strong demand for this game on PlayStation. Looking at the bigger picture, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle has already moved over 310,000 units on Steam alone, and based on early sales numbers, the PS5 version is expected to eventually pass that total. Meanwhile, the Xbox version has seen close to 5 million players, but here's the thing, a big proportion of those players access the game through Game Pass, meaning they didn't actually buy it outright. And we all know that Game Pass cannibalizes sales, so those gamers will just wait to play the game when it hits Game Pass rather than going out to purchase and play the game. Now look, there are various reasons as to why this happens, and I'll discuss the reasons shortly in the video. Not everyone has the choice to be able to go out and buy a game, I get it, so I'm not criticizing anyone who cannot afford to go out and buy games day and date. However, the same constraints about not being able to afford to buy games are not just for people who play games on Xbox. Those constraints exist for people who play games on PlayStation and Nintendo too, and they seem to be doing fine going out buying games in general. Anyway, I'll come on to the whole subscription thing shortly, but Indiana Jones and the Great Circle officially launched for PS5 on April the 17th. As of now, there is no official word about a sequel, but Phil Spencer from Microsoft has hinted that the company is very happy with the game's performance. He even said that they believe there's still life in that franchise, suggesting that more Indiana Jones adventures might be on the way. There is no surprise that the game is selling very well on PlayStation. In all honesty, I don't expect any decent sales numbers from the Xbox platform. The sales numbers on Xbox are generally tiny. A small portion of the fanbase do buy those games. However, a large proportion of the Xbox fanbase just wait for games to land in Game Pass so they can play it as part of their rental service. Hence why the numbers and sales tend to typically be better on PlayStation. Have you played Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? Let me know if you plan to play it or if you're already playing it on PlayStation, Xbox or PC. And with regards to subscription services, for a while now there's been a lot of debate in the gaming industry about how companies should handle subscription services. In the early years of the current console generation, many industry experts were convinced that Sony would eventually have to start launching its first-party titles directly into PlayStation Plus if they wanted to stay competitive with Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass. However, Sony stuck to its guns. Sony always believed that putting their brand new blockbuster games straight into a subscription model right away just wasn't sustainable in the long run. Instead of following Microsoft's approach, Sony chose a different path. They expanded PlayStation Plus into multiple tiers, offering players different choices through PlayStation Plus Extra and PS Plus Premium. This way, gamers could still get access to great titles without Sony risking the financial health of their biggest releases. Meanwhile, Microsoft, despite making some aggressive moves early on, has hit quite a few bumps with Xbox Game Pass. They missed some of their own targets and expectations for the service, and as a result, Microsoft has started to publish some of their biggest games like Forza Horizon 5 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PlayStation consoles, something that would have seemed absolutely unthinkable just a few years ago. On top of that, Matt Piscatella, an analyst from Circana, weighed in on the bigger picture of subscription gaming. Reacting to reports of a potential drop-off in PS Plus subscriptions, Piscatella pointed out that subscription services might not actually be the future of gaming after all. He said that while these services definitely have a place in the gaming industry, overall spending on things like PS Plus and Xbox Game Pass has stayed pretty much flat since 2021. The only real spike happened during the holiday season when Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was added to Game Pass, giving it a temporary 14% boost year over year. It's important to remember that during this time, subscription prices have been going up too, which means revenue numbers can be a little misleading. There's definitely a place for subscription services in the gaming world. As I've said before, subscription models are great for people who don't want to buy every new game full price on release day, or for those going through tougher financial times. If you have kids or a large family, these services can be a real lifesaver. New games dropping into Game Pass and PlayStation Plus every month give players a lot of value for their money. But the reality is, subscription services are not for everyone. A lot of gamers still love collecting physical or digital copies of their games. They've built up massive gaming collections over the years, and for them, owning a game outright matters. That's something you just don't get with a subscription model. When your subscription ends, so does your access to those games. Then there are gamers like me who have a lot of weekly commitments and not much free time. If I'm lucky, I might squeeze in 15 to 20 hours of gaming a week, and even that feels like a bloody luxury. Because of that, I don't really have the time to bounce between dozens of games offered through a subscription service, be it Game Pass or PlayStation Plus. For players like me, it makes more sense to go out and buy games individually. If the game looks good and interests me, I'll pick it up, play through it, and then move on to the next one. Having a huge library of games available through a subscription service sounds great, but realistically, I wouldn't really get much out of it. And at the end of the day, subscription services are a personal choice. For a lot of people, they're an essential part of their gaming setup, and without them, they might not be able to enjoy nearly as many great games. For others, subscription services just don't fit into their gaming habits, and that's totally fine too. Whatever side you fall on, one thing's for sure, subscription services are here to stay. They've become a permanent part of the gaming world, and they're not going away anywhere. Let me know what you think of subscription services and game sales. Do you think people waiting to play games through subscription services hurt game sales? Let me know in the comments and let's move on. It's probably fair to say that the reveal of Nintendo's next console, the Switch 2, didn't exactly unfold the way the company would have hoped. Even though expectations are high and it's almost certain the system will be a big success, the early buzz around has been pretty mixed, and a lot of that comes down to the choice Nintendo has made with the platform. The criticism of Nintendo and Switch 2 has come from several different angles. Some fans are frustrated with the pricing of the games, others are questioning the move to go to game key cartridges, and there's been some confusion around the so-called Welcome Tour, which is a premium tutorial feature that left a lot of people scratching their heads. Instead of generating pure excitement, Nintendo seems to have sparked a lot of debate, and not all of it is positive. Then just recently, things flared up again with a surprise release date announcement for Ghost of Yotei. Instead of helping to calm the waters, it's only added more fuel to the fire. And what really makes people angry and what really got people talking was that the cost of Nintendo's big launch title, Mario Kart World, which is priced at $80 in the US. The price tag raised a lot of eyebrows, especially when you compare it to what's happening elsewhere in the industry. Take Sony, for example. When they announced the upcoming sequel from Sucker Punch Productions, the studio known for its highly polished cinematic games, they revealed it would be priced at $69.99, which is in line with what we've come to expect from major PlayStation 5 exclusives. Sony is also offering a deluxe edition with some extra downloadable content thrown in for around $79.99, but that's optional if you want to go for the deluxe edition. The base game remains at a slightly more reasonable $69.99. This contrast between Nintendo and Sony's pricing strategies has led a lot of gamers to draw comparisons. Many feel that Ghost of Yotei, with its more cinematic presentation, higher production values, and more detailed graphics, will likely cost significantly more to develop than Mario Kart World, yet somehow is still being offered at a lower base price. Of course, it's important to stay fair here. Just because a game costs more to make doesn't necessarily mean it's automatically going to be more fun to play. However, considering the pedigree of Sucker Punch and their track record of Ghost of Tsushima, it's a fair bet that the game is going to be absolutely awesome. Mario Kart World and Ghost of Yotei are very different types of games aimed at different audiences. One leans into colourful, accessible arcade racing fun, and the other is more of an epic story-driven experience. Still, the frustration is very understandable, and when people look at the amount they're being asked to pay, especially when the visuals and technical differences are so obvious, it's hard not to question whether Nintendo is simply taking advantage of its loyal fanbase. That said, we shouldn't be too quick to assume Sony's current pricing strategy is here to stay either. A lot is riding on how big upcoming releases like GTA 6 perform, and how well Nintendo's new titles sell once the Switch 2 has officially been out for a few months. If sales remain strong and gamers continue paying the higher prices without much pushback, it's not hard to imagine Sony and other publishers eventually moving towards the $79.99 as a standard across the industry. At the end of the day, it's clear that game pricing is still evolving, and whether we like it or not, companies are going to keep testing just how much players are willing to spend. Game prices going up, it's not a popular discussion, is it? It's not a popular topic, but it's the reality that we have to talk about. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below, and let's move on. Bethesda recently announced that Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster has attracted over 4 million players within just 1 week of release. That's a massive milestone, and Bethesda took a moment to thank all fans who jumped back into the game. Just a quick side note here, it's kind of funny because not too long ago, Ubisoft announced that Assassin's Creed had hit 2 million players within its first few days. Back then, a lot of people criticized Ubisoft heavily for not sharing actual sales numbers, accusing them of trying to spin a story. And now here we are, a few weeks later, Bethesda is celebrating 4 million players for Oblivion Remaster, and quite rightly too, it's a great achievement. But again, no mention of how many copies were actually sold. Personally, I'm not taking sides here. I don't care whether it's Ubisoft or Bethesda. I just find it ironic. When one company does it, it's seen as shady. When another does the exact same thing, it's celebrated like it's the greatest news ever. It's funny how this works sometimes. Anyway, food for thought. The remastered version of Oblivion launched on April the 22nd, and it was made available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. The announcement didn't come as a total surprise though. There'd been months of rumours leading up to it, but the quick success still shows how much love there is for this classic RPG. Bethesda has opened the door for player feedback, asking fans for suggestions about potential updates or changes they'd like to see in the remaster. As of now though, no major patches have been released yet. This isn't just a basic remaster either. Oblivion Remastered was built using Unreal Engine 5, bringing huge improvements across the board. The character models are brand new, lighting effects have been modernized, and both the dialogue system and user interface have been upgraded. It also comes with a bunch of quality of life changes that make the whole experience smoother without losing the original game's charm. In fact, one of the senior designers who worked on the original Oblivion has even said that the improvements are so significant that it could practically be considered Oblivion 2.0. Let me know if you've decided to get the remaster. What are your thoughts on Oblivion? I've given this a miss, if I'm honest. I've played the original back when it came out and sunk over 80 hours into the game. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, time is precious, and unfortunately, I just don't have the time to dive back into this game. Let's move on. Sandful Interactive has officially confirmed that their new RPG, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, has now crossed a major milestone, selling over 1 million copies. What's even more impressive is that the sales numbers do not include any players who access the game through Xbox Game Pass, and these are pure direct sales. In an age where many games boost their player numbers with subscription services, hitting 1 million paid sales is a huge achievement, especially for brand new IP. Originally, there were some concerns within the gaming community about whether Expedition 33 might struggle due to the sudden and much hyped launch of the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered game. Some fans were even worrying that the return of such a beloved classic might steal some attention and potential sales away from Sandful's new release. However, looking at the numbers, those concerns seem to have been unfounded. In fact, Expedition 33 got off to an extremely strong start straight out the gate. The developer took to social media shortly after launch to announce that the game had sold over 500,000 copies within 24 hours of release. They posted a heartfelt message thanking players for their support, admitting that they reached this sales milestone much quicker than they had ever expected. It's always refreshing to see smaller studios finding big success, especially when they are so open and grateful about it. Critics also rallied around the game, giving it overwhelmingly positive news. Expedition 33 has earned critical acclaim across the board, and with many outlets praising its deep strategic gameplay and emotional storytelling, it's clear that the strong reviews have helped push its early success even further. Sandful Interactive, a relatively small team of around 30 developers, managed to pull off something pretty rare. They built a brand new, high-budget, turn-based RPG that immediately resonated with players and critics alike. Their approach clearly draws inspiration from classic series like Final Fantasy and Persona, but Expedition 33 still manages to carve out its own unique identity. Expedition 33 is being defined as a 9 out of 10 game across many gaming media sites, and and it's been described as an absolute must-play for any RPG fans. Special praise was given to its deep combat system, its emotional character arcs, and the way the world of Clair Obscur has brought it to life. The success of Expedition 33 shows that there's a strong appetite for well-crafted, story-driven, turn-based RPGs, especially when they're made with heart, vision, and attention to detail. And with Sandfall Interactive now firmly on the map, it'll be exciting to see what this talented team delivers next and how the studio grows over time. What are your thoughts on Expedition 33? It's great to see games and the development studios having this level of success. What is even more unbelievable is that this is a development team of only around 30 odd people, so it's even more extraordinary at what they've achieved. What a fantastic success story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.